This message is so important, I paused Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven to share it with you. I'm currently rewriting content on the Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips website, and I want to share with you an important and valuable message if you run or manage a content site. Hi, I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips. If you're a copywriter, marketer, or business development professional who uses copy on the internet to attract, keep, and maintain customers, then pay close attention. You likely have written content years ago, or your clients has contents years ago, and you may not have thought to offer them a content rewrite service. First, understand that the search engines have changed over the years, and what they expect to receive or what they expect to see in order to recommend your site to visitors is much different than it was, say, in 2008. So I'm going over my website, Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips, and I'm finding content from 2008 that was maybe 200 to 400 words long. Now, that's not as valuable today because search engines can tell what is the content on your site and what is the template on your site. And so all the filler, such as additional articles, lead generation pieces, opt-in forms, mastheads, all that stuff is now ignored, and that 200-word content is not considered as valuable to the reader from a search engine perspective as it once was. So unfortunately, a lot of copywriters will go in and they'll fluff up an article. They'll expand information. Maybe if there's a reference, rather than linking to a page that expands that reference and gives a definition, they might include that definition in an article. There might have been 3 tips and now they change it to 10 tips. And this fluffing of the article is useful, but it doesn't satisfy the other aspects of what search engines are looking for, or the readability and the clarity that's necessary for a visitor to really get something out of that article. And so if you've got a client that has a publication, you can go through their backlog, their old materials, maybe their drafts as well, and start writing more lead generation content. Now, you have to do that with the understanding of what content works and what content doesn't. So you would want to go into their analytics and mine through that and understand what content generates leads and which content does not. And in fact, all the content on the website that has 0 traffic, that's candidate for rewrite. It currently hasn't got 0 traffic in the last 36 months or the last 18 months, whatever you establish with your client. Those would be candidates for rewriting because nobody can see that content anyway. Now, in the past, that content may have converted a lot of leads, but it doesn't work today. So what do? We offer the client an opportunity to refresh that content, and you explain to them the reason why is because search engines are looking for something different today than they were looking for in the past, but also that visitors looking for the same. So maybe the customer is a blog, and they were just finding their voice in the first 2 to 3 years of that blog. And now they're starting to get revenue. Maybe they have some products of their own. Maybe they have a catalog that they didn't have before. You're going to approach that by doing a website quality audit. Now, there's a lot of tools that'll do this for you, but essentially you're looking for broken links. You're looking for articles with a small amount of copy. You're looking for materials that are vague or hard to read. And then you're going to cross-reference that against their website traffic. Now, this is very important because a lot of folks are just start fixing stuff and not realizing that some of the things they fix are actually serving their site well. But you're going to go cross-reference that against their traffic conversion, their product conversion, and then you're going to go back into that content and rewrite it for lead generation, rewrite it as precursors to the offer, rewrite it as funnel to point to their shopping cart or other offers they might have. And this can be as easy as adding a paragraph. Now, you'll see a lot in my content. I'll add, and I've got on my screen here an article called Low Cost Distribution, which was an older article because a lot of the folks on the Ad Briefing site were just learning how to set up a website. And I had this content here because they were setting up websites, but now you guys know how to, you just go open a WordPress site. You don't have to do a lot of setup. So I rewrote the low cost distribution about from any website to high traffic websites. And I gave examples about DNS round robin and content delivery service, but I use a mechanism called an editor's note. So I have editors, and sometimes the editor will say, hey, when you wrote the article in 2008, it said this. are you still, see, I had a recommendation for the DNS Made Easy tool. They said, are you still using that? No, I'm not still using it. Well, rather than removing the content, the editor puts in a note that says, at the time of first publication of this article in 2008, Ad Briefing's copywriting tips used DNS Made Easy for static pool round robin with failover and site monitoring. It's a cost-effective solution that it still works in 2021. Now, why did I let the editor put that in there? Well, because the DNS Made Easy link is actually an affiliate link. And when somebody clicks there, they're getting a quality software tool, but I'm getting revenue at the website. So I don't want to pull out DNS Made Easy because I don't use it anymore. And that's initially what the editor wanted to do. I still recommend the tool. I go review the tool to make sure it still works and functions the way it should. And then I continue to reference the tool with the caveat that it's not the tool I'm using today. Now, I add into the article the tools that we're using today because there are new tools. And ultimately, this makes the article more useful for the visitor. Now, I added 2 more current examples. So one of the things you can do to content that is kind of a little bit old is you can add examples about why the content still matters. So load distribution is about website availability. I added 2 examples where website availability wasn't there. So for example, Cloudflare very often throttles users. It slows down the speed in which your site responds, and it blocks secure users or users of proxies or foreign traffic. Now, if your website relies on those things, Cloudflare might not be the right solution, and the solution in the article, which is a kind of an entry-level solution, might be where you start until you find something you need. And then I also mentioned how Amazon AWS dropped Parler up in the 2020 election. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because that old content on the website is the draft to new and updated relevant content for the readers. So you've got a customer who's got a publication and they've got 1,000 articles. They don't need 1,000 more articles. What they need is the articles that don't currently convert, that don't currently generate leads. You need those articles to work because you want 1,000 high quality articles, not 2,000 just random quality articles. Does that make sense to you? Can you see how this is an opportunity to go back to past customers that you've written for in the past and say, look, that content may not be working like it was working when I first wrote it for you. It could be stale as far as the search engines are concerned. It could be stale as far as your audience is concerned. It could be not matching the current audience that you know converts. And this gives the client an opportunity to pay for something that is going to increase value because obviously if it's got 0 traffic today, you're not going to break anything. You could delete those articles and nobody would care because nobody's looking at them. But again, if you use that as a position to start with, you can start adding lead generation bounce back opportunities. You could start using cross references to existing content, which increases the context of that article. Most platforms like WordPress and Movable Type, they'll note the article's original published date, and then they'll note when it was revised so that when a search engine sees that article, they know it's new, and they'll crawl it. Now, between the crawling of the search engines, between it being found by new visitors, because remember, it could have worked really well because in the past, because that person bought the product. But now that the person bought the product, it doesn't work for that person anymore because they already own the product. They already solved the problem. But there's new people in the marketplace. So now those new people in the marketplace will find this content and they'll start enjoying it. They'll start using it. And the next thing you know, your customer is delighted because their overall web traffic increases. Their overall lead generation increases. Their overall conversions increase. Now, again, if this is content and nobody's looking at, you can try new things. You can expand the content. You can cluster the content together inside of tutorials and other resources. You can cross-reference the content. So newer content that was written can reference the older content that's been rewritten. It really improves the quality of the website. And as site quality metrics increase, as new visitors find this content, as some of this content becomes more shareable, it all works out well. Now, one of the most powerful things that I've done for clients is find content on their website that converts very well and then reuse it in other mediums. So this is almost a bonus tip. You can take them to up the stairway to heaven if you will simply take what works and put it in the postal mail, for example. So you take the article, you just tune it a little bit so that it's in a letter format, and then you mail it to their mailing list. You can take content that hasn't had any visitors and add a opt-in form that has full address, and then beef it up around the opt-in, and then next thing you know, you've got more addresses to go on a list. Those two things together start driving up the conversions, because we don't care about how many visitors visit a website. It doesn't matter if you get millions of visitors to a website a day. It doesn't mean anything. 90% of those visitors could be new. You want people to come to your website, stay on the website, opt in for something, and then be able to identify themselves as what offer they're going to be interested in. So again, as a copywriter, marketer, or business development professional, you can take old content that doesn't convert and transform it into content that sells. Now, again, you want to focus, and I talked about this in the past, and it's in one of my tutorials. You want to focus on content that has zero traffic and zero conversion. Okay, because that's the safest traffic to modify. It is possible for content that is poor quality from a search engine perspective to actually contribute to transactions. And you want to be mindful of that. It's also possible for traffic that has a high value in the search engines to not generate leads, but to drive people deeper into a website where they then eventually do leads. But I have yet to find any publisher that has a really clear, they usually only have like last attribution when it comes to conversion tracking. They don't usually know the path for more than 2 or 3 jumps for a visitor coming through a site. So again, it is a little dependent on the analytics setup, but there's another opportunity. If you pitch a prospect on revitalizing their content, refreshing it for current search engine desires and the needs of the current visitor, and you find out their analytics is horrible, then you now offer them the opportunity to get better analytics. Because again, it doesn't matter how good you write copy if nobody ever sees it, or the customer never sends it, or they can't track whether conversion works or not. So you have to work from that conversion foundation. Well, I'm going to get back to my music here. Again, I'm rewriting a bunch of content on the site that has low traffic or poor quality scores. And so Ad Briefings is constantly improving. I use what I'm teaching you. But if you want a good, high quality opportunity that's ongoing for clients, it's revisiting them to help them stimulate the quality of their content. Not just the literary quality, but the quality in converting leads and the quality of making sales. And you do this with the least valuable content on their website, not new content. Now, you could put some new content in there, but the worst content on the website cleaned up is going to get you more search traffic. You don't even have to get SEO right, and you can improve the traffic by just improving the readability, the language, the focus on the audience, the connections and ease of use. You'll find a lot of content that was just broken, and that's why I got zero traffic. But it's a good, consistent gig. It's a good quality income stream. It could be something that you add to a website maintenance plan so you can get the monthly revenue associated with it. And it's just a powerful way to get back into a customer base, especially when everybody right now is pitching new content. New content doesn't matter if you've got hundreds of pages of old content that does nothing. I want to thank you for listening. I'm Justin Hitt with Ad Briefings Copywriting Tips. If you have any questions about implementing the techniques that we're sharing right now, or you want to get more involved in what we offer at the website, including courses, training materials, tutoring, coaching, then you want to visit www.adbriefings.co.uk. Visit the contact page. Write me with your questions. I'd love to hear from you. I'm here to deliver hot tips for sales copy and help you better write copy that sells. Thanks for listening.